Okay, it's been a couple of days since Aaron Judge re-signed with the Yankees, and I want to go over his projections. What did the stats say he is going to hit over the remainder of his career? So, first, a quick explanation about projections, just because they can be pretty confusing. So, I want to kind of clear that up before we go into them. The way projections work is that they project a like tiers for a player. So they project a 10th percentile, which would be if they do really poorly. They project a 90th percentile, which would be if they perform to the best of their ability. And then the ones that are normally, reported and the ones that we get to see are the 50th percentile ones. So think of this. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, his 90th percentile projection might have him hitting 10 home runs, right? That is if he goes off and has the best season of his career, 10 home runs. Aaron Judge, on the other hand, his 90th percentile is going to be about 60 to 70 home runs. But the way that it works is it takes kind of the middle of those projections. So it takes the number in between the 10th percentile. The 10th percentile would be if the player has a horrible year. So Isaiah Kiner-Falefa maybe hits, he would probably hit 0 home runs in that. Aaron Judge, he hits 30. And it kind of takes the in middle of the two, goes in between for the 50th percentile. So that is the projections we're looking at, the 50th percentile ones. There are 90th percentile ones, and those are the ones that predict that Aaron Judge is going to hit, 60 to 70 home runs. But that's less realistic, and the 50th percentile is more accurate. So that's what we're going to be looking at. And the way projections work is they just look at past history, how well has the player done in the past. Then it really just applies an aging curve to see how much they're going to regress. Not perfect, but they do give you a rough sense of how well a player is going to do. So, for example, Aaron Judge's 50th percentile over his career says he's going to have 1,000 more hits. It's probably not going to be 1,000 exactly, but it's going to be around somewhere in that range. So, just kind of a quick explanation of projections, and now let's get into exactly what they say about Aaron Judge. So, the projections think he's going to hit 263 home runs over his next 9 years. He's going to have 3 seasons with 100 or more RBIs. He's going to have 1,000 hits and put up about 35 WAR over that time. That is really good there. But let's talk about what they think he's going to do in his first and last season. So that kind of determines a lot in my mind. So his first season, they think he's going to have a batting average of 280, an OPS of 386, a slugging of 578, hitting 46 home runs, and having a WAR of 7.4. That is really, really good. But his last season, which is in 2031, they think he's going to hit 220, with a 325 on base percentage, 390 slugging, 15 home runs, and a WAR of 1.1. Not that good, but it makes sense. He's going to be about 39 years old by then. So what about the in-between, right? I went over the general things of how they think he's going to do over those 9 years. What about the first half of the contract versus the later half? So in his first 5 years, until he's about 35, 36, they think he's going to average 38 home runs and 5.5 WAR per season. That is really good. That is the area where the Yankees can contend with Judge, where he's going to have a massive impact, where he's hitting a bunch of home runs and providing the team a bunch of value. That is when the contract is worth it. But the last 4 years, and sadly I can't split it 5 and 5 because it's a 9-year contract, but the last 4 years, where he's going to be almost 40 at the end, I think he's going to average 19 home runs per season and 1.8 WAR. That's not great. That is the time when the Yankees are just eating that contract because they paid for his past performance. They're paying for these 5 years where he's going to be averaging almost 40 home runs a season and being an MVP contender for multiple years. That is when they can win a World Series with Aaron Judge leading them there. And then for the last 4 years, that's when Aaron Judge is not going to be that good, but you've paid for his past performance. He's on the team now. He's not going to be putting up no value. I mean, the projection's thinking that he's going to have over 1 WAR in his final season. It's actually really good, and I'm happy to see that. But it's going to be diminished value, and for the contract, it's not going to look good. But at the same time, that's the price you pay for a superstar. I'll link these projections in the description if you want to go over them in depth, because there's a lot of data that I couldn't go over all of it. So I'll link it in the description. But tell me what you think of these projections. Is Aaron Judge going to overperform, underperform them, or perform just as they think he will?